Hey guys, welcome to Scottsdale Living podcast. So we got a great one coming today. One of my favorite restaurants in the Valley, Pita Jungle. So we're going to talk to one of the co-founders, Bassel Osmani.
Yes, sir.
So tell me, how did you get into the restaurant business? Was this your first restaurant?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Wow. So out of nothing, huh?
Yep. My two business partners and I, back in the 1990s, early 90s, 1994, I should say, but 1900s.
Yeah, I know.
Late 1900s.
last century.
Yeah. So we all went to ASU and, we all went through the trial and tribulations of college life and diet and the chicken wings and the fatty foods.
Ramen noodles and
all
whatever.
That stuff, ramen and all that. And we all worked in hospitality, in parallel to our, academic careers. And we all gained some experience in restaurants, hotels, hospitality in general, customer service. And we decided to roll the dice on something that did not exist back then.
Yeah. So there was nothing Mediterranean food-wise in the Valley then, was there?
There was some mom and pop stores that sold, the usual suspects.
Yeah.
But what we had in mind is really a healthy, affordable diet.
Sure.
Back then, below $5-6, being able to get in there and get culinary exposure to fruit, nuts, grains, extra virgin olive oil, lean proteins. And we did breakfast, lunch, and dinner in early days. Yeah.
Wow. You don't do breakfast anymore, do you?
No, we don't. Yeah. Because we got too busy at lunch and breakfast using the same equipment, the same flat tops, grills. It became a nightmare, like when I and my partner were working that kitchen, we rocked it. We suffered a lot.
Yeah.
But it wasn't functional, but we plowed through rock to make it happen,
Sure.
So, but as we scaled up, that model, it just was too hard to execute upon. So we dropped the breakfast. We have a couple of locations where we do weekend brunches, and we have a shorter menu.
Right.
But
So you guys were way ahead of the health food kind of craze, huh?
Yeah, we all grew up luckily we come from foodie families.
Sure.
Our background is France and Lebanon, the three partners.
Yeah.
And we both all kind of lived in both those countries before. We're mostly Americans. Today we've been here since the early 80s.
Sure.
For myself, I've been here since my late teens.
So you did immigrate here though?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I came, I was not born here. I was born in France.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Of Lebanese parents, So that's the heritage.
Sure.
My other two partners, one is French, one is Lebanese.
Okay, so that's a perfect mix, right?
Yeah, and we all went to ASU, and we all met there, and we were all roommates, and we all shared the same car.
Yeah.
And we all coincided on the same notion that, hey, we got to do this.
Yeah.
We have to do it.
I love that. So we'll go back to the partnership aspect of it in a little bit because that can be kind of crazy. But so what's the inspiration for the menu? Did you grow up on this food? Did you go back to mom or grandma and say, hey, give me those recipes?
There was a bunch of that.
Okay.
And also during college, we would concoct things at home. A lot of the dishes, we used to have a salad called the tuna pasta salad, which we don't have anymore.
Sure.
We have the chicken pasta still, but it's very simple where we would get cheap pasta back then on our college budget.
Sure.
Fresh, boil it up, add to it a can of tuna, and then just put on it fresh lemon juice, extra virgin olive oil, good quality salt.
Sure.
So a couple mint leaves, and suddenly it becomes a healthy meal.
Right.
And it wasn't very costly to do that. And we're like, if we could do this and democratize that style of eating, someone's got to bite.
Oh, yeah. And they did.
They did, yeah.
So was it pretty much successful right out of the gate?
Well, even though the sales were, in today's standard, if you open a store with 60 employees on payroll and that for build out and all that stuff, no. But back then, the first one, yeah, because we only had 3 employees.
The 3 of you,
the 3 partners, Nelly, Foud, and myself.
Right.
And it was a second generation building that used to be a restaurant. So in terms of tenants improvements,
you had the stuff there.
We just some grease, elbow grease, whatever they call it, and we went in there with the help of a friend / handyman. We turned it into what we wanted to be the first one, and we started operating. and whatever we sold trickled to the bottom line because it was so we had no cost. Our rent was like super cheap back then, like a couple grand, whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
And so yeah.
Where was the first location?
The first location was on Apache Boulevard in Tempe.
Okay.
Between Rural and McClintock.
Okay. And who were you going for? Was it students that you were kind of after?
Well, this is in the backyard of ASU. Remember, we were all ASU students. Yeah. This is what we knew, you know?
Right.
But also Tempe, that's part of Tempe. I mean, there's residential.
Sure.
There's tons of, daytime trade, business people, and really they all came out, not just the students. From the get-go, like we would have the suit type that would come in along with the tattooed and the neo hippies and the grunge. It was 94, right? So it was like the era of the grunge and all that.
Yeah, the end of the big hair bands too, right?
and we were super hip and edgy back then. Like we didn't have uniforms on us or our employees, soon to be employees, because at first we didn't have any employees. Sure. We did not have any formulaic approach to treat and communicate with our customers. We hired people like us who enjoyed what they did, and they became friends with the customers and the patrons who became our friends. I mean, it was so cool that those first few years when we were working the stores, and we were all still roommates. Like for the first 5 years, we all lived together. It was great.
Yeah. So kind of look back at that with really good memories, huh?
Oh yeah, the best times. I mean,
Yeah. So what's the evolution then? I mean, so you guys really did you know anything about opening a business or restaurant? I mean, do you have a mentorship of any kind?
Not really, but we were all college students, graduate school too, and so we knew how to tap into resources. Mm-hmm. Obviously we did not want to reinvent the wheel, but when we needed help in anything, we surrounded ourselves with the best, whether it was accounting advice, legal advice, anything, design.
Sure.
We knew what we wanted, and we knew that there were very smart people all around us.
Yeah.
We live next to a campus, and I mean, this is
unbelievable resources.
We have talents, right?
Yeah,
all around us. So tap into it.
Yeah. So how many locations do you have now?
Today we have 24 locations.
Wow! Congratulations, man. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. So when you look back at it today versus then, I mean, it's got to be kind of an amazing feeling, right? That it turned into this.
All what I have to say is, of course, I mean, I'm still in disbelief. We really were lucky, We put good intentions at the right time, at the right place. The proverbial being at the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Well, there's a little luck, but there's some work involved too, right?
Yeah, and it's fun. You gotta have fun at what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, I miss the days where I would go and spend entire days.
Yeah.
In the hubbub of a restaurant.
Right. Yeah, right up in the middle of the action.
Yeah, the action, the food, making it from scratch.
Sure.
And the phone calls and receiving produce in the morning and checking it out, and it's so much fun.
Yeah. So I got to imagine now at 24 locations, all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you maintain the consistency, right? I mean, that's got to be pretty challenging because, I mean, I assume you want every experience to be the same, whichever restaurant you go to. How do you maintain that?
Well, this is the elephant in the room right there.
Yeah, right.
Way to point. I mean, this is the nightmare for anyone who wants to scale up operations. And obviously sticking to the same basics of surrounding yourself with good talent. And communicating your vision and your DNA to all these people that sometimes you don't know.
Sure.
And we never reduce the size of our menu. So I feel you do pay a little price.
Yeah.
When you, I mean, it's a Faustian deal a little bit. There's some soul selling perhaps.
Yeah.
But I don't think we reneged too much on our original positions.
Sure.
Because we have phenomenal crews out there, and I mean, our culture, we try to osmose through it. Our employees.
Yeah. So that's a great word, culture, right? So I mean, that's kind of at the heart of what your restaurants are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maintaining that. I mean, do you have? I would imagine at this point you've got like a headquarters staff kind of thing.
Oh yeah, we have a headquarter with the core staff that represent all the different departments to run a business, whether you're selling falafels or microchips. I mean, you got to have marketing, accounting, HR, all these things. So you come to our conference room and you listen. You sit in on a meeting and you look at the spreadsheets. If we took you out of context, it could be any business meeting.
Yeah, of course.
And it's good. For me, I mean, I'd rather be in a restaurant. This is how.
Well, you get to see kind of instant satisfaction too from your clients. Yeah, for sure. So tell me a little bit. There's 3 partners.
Yes,
that's a hard thing to do. I mean, I've been in business a long time and I've had partners, and it's challenging at times, right? How do you guys maintain? I mean, do you each have a different kind of focus, or is it all group decisions? How do you kind of manage that?
It used to be where we all have kind of like a council of the consent.
Right.
It had to be no one could be alienated from a decision, and if someone had an objection on, then that's it. That it would be a veto.
Oh wow!
I guess it. So it was a democracy of sorts, but the reason why it worked is because everyone is super honest.
Sure.
There's never, and if someone needed anything, we made our every effort we can to within the partners.
Sure.
To give them satisfaction. Like, okay, you need time off because you have an ailing parent overseas. Go take 2 years, no problem.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow, that sounds like a real scenario. Huh?
I mean, they're friends.
Yeah.
And
still friends to this day.
Life. I mean, we started when we were in our 20s. I'm almost 60 now. You know.
Yeah.
So we went through life.
Right. That's crazy.
And it all happened, and you gotta be a little philosophical about things, and there's no reason to have animosity and fights, and we luckily we all share the same line of thought, because it takes one to kind of regress on this notion, and then that's it. The ship sinks.
Yeah, totally.
So we're good. We're in a good place.
I love it. So are you guys only in Arizona at this point?
We're in Arizona, in northern Arizona, in Tucson. We're in Flagstaff, Tucson, and Phoenix. At one point, we dabbled with out-of-state franchising, and we had 3 restaurants in Southern California, Orange County, LA County, and San Diego County.
Yeah, and the franchise model wasn't for you guys?
It is. It works for us here in town.
Okay, sure.
We have a few franchisees. Some of them are own employees, and this is
that's great. So they evolved into it.
They evolved into it, and these guys have our DNA. And we also have, friends who wanted to become franchisees, and that works too. But I mean, within Phoenix, we all kind of like the culture is preserved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you go across state lines, and the business model is different anyway. In California, it was more expensive to do the same things we do here.
Yeah, everything, right?
And the geography over there, it on the map it looks like it's 5 miles, but guess what? There's a canyon and blah 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 and a highway and whatever.
Yeah, and traffic, and it's an hour, right?
So it's like and
yeah. So how do you guys ingrain yourself in the community? I mean, at 24 locations, obviously the Valley loves you guys. The state as a whole. I mean, what do you do to kind of get yourself out there at a community level and really get engaged there?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you about in the beginning, the making of, and today. Today, obviously, we always sponsor local events, give back to the communities. Any opportunity for us to get in there and help, we're there on the forefront.
Right.
At school level, we try to participate in programs. Food insecurities. Whenever there's, we'd like to be present.
Sure.
And so giving back to your community really is like what we do today, and it's part from it's really within our marketing department,
right?
And that we do these things. We have budgets for these things, and that's it. But back in the early days, one of the ways we tapped into our community is like, okay, we opened the first one, and I don't know if you know it, but every Pita Jungle has locally art local made art.
Oh, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's curated by an artist.
Sure.
Who's also a school teacher, art school teacher.
Cool.
You know, someone that we met 30 years ago, and he's still doing it for us. And any artist can submit their art to him. And we adorn it on our walls.
Right.
And it sells. And we don't make any we don't.
Sure.
You know, it's all for the artist.
That's funny because we do the same thing here. Like when you came in, we have a whole bunch of different artists and we do the same thing. It's great. I love that.
And we rotated across our locations. So for us, when we first started, like, you know, myself and my business partner, Nelly, we went over to the ASU art department and we started talking to professors, teachers over there, you know, and like, do you have students? Do you have talent? When you have a restaurant, we give you free reign. Go ahead and, you know, and so it's so beneficial because first of all, it creates conversation within the local community. And then when people start putting their art, you do a little event for them. They bring their friend and family.
They get to eat.
And occasionally, they get exposed to the to the restaurant, to the brand. And so, you know, so these kind of efforts, you build roots, and then some of them become friends, they become customers, they become whatever, you know, but you got to stay active and dynamic. And things will happen.
I love that. So this can be really interesting. So you experienced COVID, right? The whole country went through it, and restaurants, I think, were hit really, really hard. With you guys at that level of business, I mean, you had a ton of employees, locations, rents, everything. How did you get through that?
Oh, it was tough times.
Yeah, right.
And sometimes I feel like we haven't really recovered. I mean, the numbers are back. But the nature of the business is different. As today, more food leave the store into go bags than dine in. You know, the customer mentality has changed. I mean, people still go to dine in restaurant for a specific experience. Like if they have a big screen and you want to watch your favorite sport event, or if it's a special event and you're gonna have a high end whatever celebratory meal. But we're a lifestyle restaurant. You know. We're kind of like a coffee house that your neighborhood coffee house where you go once, twice a week or a month or whatever your frequency is. And COVID kind of taught people to use us for to go. So now we're trying to reinvent the experience. Hey, we got art, we got music.
Come on in.
we have date night, we have wine, we have, you know, coming in. So COVID, I mean, there was a brief period where we're all shut down. And then we reopened with skeletal staff because there was restrictions on spacing distance and all that stuff. And then it loosened up and then we brought in more people. Everyone is back today.
Oh, that's good. So it caught up from that standpoint. So what did you find like after COVID? It seems like other restaurant owners I've talked to, and we have quite a few restaurant owners on the podcast, like cost really changed, didn't they? I mean, it seems like the last few years post COVID, it got really expensive to do business.
Oh yeah. And some restaurants opt to increase prices and they do, and everyone does. I mean, at the very least to keep with inflation. But I think we're at a tipping point here where it's becoming too costly. Like Americans be like, I mean, we used to go out more often. I used to go out more often, and now because of COVID and we got accustomed to hang out with the family at home and stream movies and all that. We're more sedentary, I feel, with our dining. You know, we eat more often at home, and I think everyone is a little bit like that. Plus, add to that the grocery stores now, they offer these services, and now the gas stations are competing, and everyone is in on that.
So what's your take on like, and this really blew up kind of during COVID too, is the delivery services. So, I mean, I know a lot of restaurant owners don't like it. I know it's good for some. I mean, it's got to be a little bit of a love-hate thing, huh?
Yeah. So I'll tell you what, our first exposure to it was when one of those third-party carriers, you know, did it to us without us even knowing it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then they would come and pick up and do it for free. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And then we took one store, and that was before COVID. And maybe this could have been our saving grace. We took one store, and we turned on all the existing platforms back then.
Kind of like a test, see how it works.
There was, I think, Postmate and DoorDash, I think. Uber Eats. I don't know if it was even there or not, but whoever was in existence, we turned them on, and we saw an incremental jump in the revenue.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which indicated that, okay, we're not cannibalizing.
There's something here, right?
Yeah, there's something there. The transactions are not very efficient because you're paying for all these things. But I mean, if you were to deliver it yourself, you still would pay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And most importantly, the customer wanted to engage at that level. They wanted that service.
Yeah.
So we flipped everything early on. So when COVID came, we already set up, and people were scrambling to jump on these platforms, and there was
you guys were already
shortage.
there.
We were already there, and it was a lucky shot, and I think we were we were there.
Sure, yeah, good for you guys. That was a tough one. That was a big change in the whole deal, right?
And it's a huge problem today because I mean, most of our complaints when it comes to food quality come from deliveries, because sometimes the food itself, doesn't travel well.
Yeah.
So we try to adjust the menus, and sometimes it takes too long, or things get lost.
A lot of stuff you can't control.
Yeah.
But you get the heat. Yeah, that's a tough one for sure.
Yeah.
So, rewinding in 23 years of this business, give us like one of your bigger challenges. I mean, what did you see that was really hard?
I will kindly interrupt and say 30 years.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, I had 23 years in my notes for some reason. I'm sorry. 30 years. Yeah. That's even better. So in 30 years, what was like one of your bigger challenges that you kind of got through?
In terms of, there's challenges at all levels, but in terms of growth, one of the biggest hurdles is to jump from one store to two stores.
Sure. That's a big one, right?
Huge. Then from like 3 or 4 to over 5.
Yeah. So those are the kind of the two numbers.
These kind of milestones where you're still doing it yourself, and you don't have yet the team in place,
right,
to help you scale up.
Sure.
And you feel like you're on a ship that filling up with water faster than you can scoop it out.
Yeah. And at that point, you're kind of really process and system driven, right?
Yeah.
When you get that big.
Yeah.
So you got to develop those yourself.
We did. And we also hired people who worked in the industry, who worked in larger restaurant chains,
right,
who were exposed to this kind of thing, who knew, again, surrounding yourself. I mean, you could reinvent the wheel and do it, but I mean, we're like, okay, we need someone to help us with this.
Sure.
So you hire an executive to come in and okay, that's what they do over there. Right? That's what you should be doing. You don't have this, you don't have that. Why are you putting your nose in everything? Get out. You're the owner. You know what I mean?
Totally.
That's a huge thing, a challenge.
Yeah. Well, that's giving up a little bit of your soul right there, right?
Yeah. When you're accustomed to like make sure that every plate that goes out is the way you want it. When you go out there and you see the posture on one patron, they seem to be antsy. Like you go out there, you run, and what can I do?
Yeah.
Do you want a refill? Do you want this? You want that? And then suddenly you have more than you can service to your liking. So it helped to get seasoned people that hey, that's how it goes here. You gotta train, you gotta put people, delegate. These are all things you learn.
You gotta let go a little bit though, right? Yeah, that had to be a hard part, right?
Yeah, that was a big challenge.
Yeah, and so today, in today's operation at Pita Jungle, I mean, are you there on a day-to-day basis, or are you a little more, I mean, you've got everything in place and running, so what's your role nowadays?
I'm mostly, so every day we start the day in the office.
Sure.
Where there's like general administrational stuff, and we have weekly meetings where we go over marketing, finance, HR, all these things. The general business.
Yeah, right.
I'm specifically involved in the culinary. I'm still involved in it heavily. Like we do seasonal kitchen craft menus where I, along with teammates, and sometimes my business partners too. Everyone is welcome to chime in and bring in their inputs. But I take it upon myself to produce these menus and to roll out these things, and I'm very excited about these events. I'm also very in tune with the verbiage on everything we do in messaging, in marketing, and this and that, and in the graphic, design, the way we take the brand, the imaging and all that stuff.
Right. And consistency across the board. Yeah. So and your other two partners, are they have areas that they excel in?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
One of them is heavily involved with operation. He loves that stuff, and Foud, he goes every day to stores. I go to stores, but not as much as him. Yeah. He's like always out there, checking things out, making sure systems. He's in the field.
Yeah.
And Nelly, she's always been like into interior design and beautification of things and all that.
Wow, what a great fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. What a great fit. So, as you guys keep going on, any plans, to continue to grow? I mean, are you looking to expand more in Arizona, or are you pretty happy where you're at?
For Arizona, with our number of location, I feel like we will grow organically with Arizona.
Sure.
I think there's room for us, for instance, out west in Goodyear, Litchfield Park. We don't have anything there, so there's room for something there.
Mm-hmm.
But like East Valley, Central, North Central, I think we,
but
we're still growing. Is there room for out of state? Yes, adjacent states. It's always, and that would be a franchise model through our employees. I hope, if someone wants to
I want to move to Texas.
And then we're gonna dabble into a version of our store, under a different brand name that's soon to be released.
Oh, wow. Okay. We got a secret coming out here.
That's gonna be super elegant, Mediterranean diet.
Wow. Okay.
A type of place.
So more of like the fine dining kind of?
No.
Okay.
More like a line. You come in and you build your own thing.
Right. Oh, that's cool.
But it's elegant. There will be wine and beer and that's a small footprint.
Sure.
Because
is that like the Chipotle model, kind of similar thing?
A little bit like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Some over-the-counter service and some line,
Sure. I love that.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the food is your passion, right? What's your menu look like today versus what it looked like 30 years ago?
I'm afraid that I suffer from the notion of hoarding menu items.
It just keeps building on you?
Yeah. It's increasing in size.
Sure.
And luckily my business partners, for them, it's easier to cut loose. Like, okay, dude, that thing.
Yeah, let it go.
You're selling 3 per week across the system.
Sure.
But it's got fruit, it's delicious, this and that. Those who eat it love it. Maybe,
Yeah.
Originally the nucleus of our menu was very diverse, and it branched out everywhere.
Sure.
Because we wanted to capture everything. We didn't know what people. So we had tons of plant-based protein back in 1994.
Yeah.
Tempeh, seitan, and we had breakfast. We made crepe from scratch and pancakes, and we made pita pockets and everything. It was so diverse. And then we lost things, but there's a core element that makes us who we are, like, our DNA.
Yeah.
You tell me today, cut this item, cut the portobello mushroom burger. I'm not going to cut it, even though it doesn't sell as much as a chicken sandwich. I mean, always chicken sells the most. Wherever you go, chicken, but it's our DNA. It's like me losing finger.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Not going to let go of it, right?
The same,
Yeah. So where do you find the inspiration? I mean, do you go back to like Lebanon, to Europe? Do you get inspiration from food there? Or what's kind of an inspirational place for you to find new stuff?
Everywhere. Anytime you step outside the box.
Sure.
Whether it's on the other side of town in like a little divey place or in a foreign country.
Sure.
People are the same, and people are motivated emotionally by the same inspirations when it comes to culinary stuff. You know what I mean? And everyone and you see how they treat their tomatoes and potatoes and fish and oh gosh, this is delicious. What can we do? Can we get some of that? Can we do that?
Yeah.
And that's why, I mean, when someone asks me today, like, what is your menu? Because the purist, like, you bring someone from the Mediterranean, and they'll tell you, well, this is not authentic. I tell you that my hummus is as authentic as could be because it tastes exactly like my mom did it.
Absolutely.
And in my eyes, it's the best in the world. Made from scratch, fresh lemon, olive oil. We boil our own beans. But it is true that we have dishes that do not belong to that region. But what we do effectively is we take the guidelines of the Mediterranean diet, healthy ingredients, minimal processing to preserve the integrity of those ingredients. And we apply those principles to everything.
Right.
We live in the Southwest. We have tons of Southwest influences in our menu. We do little taco things. We do burritos sometimes. We have nachos. We apply that on the Eastern diet. Southeast. Asian diet. We do it on French, on whatever you want.
Right.
And it comes out healthy and fresh and blue zone-ish, Mediterranean-ish, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean?
The blue zones, I love it. Yeah. So today, and we'll wrap up here in a minute, but today, what's the most fun for you in your business? That you enjoy the most in your day-to-day operations and running the show?
Well, I enjoy stepping in the morning and finding everyone happy and radiating with open faces, with smiles and all that, because everyone is really like that. I mean, tragedies happen, but for the most part, we surround ourselves with a nice vibe.
Right.
So that's kind of the simple things, I enjoy it when I walk across the street from our office into the restaurant over there, and I hear again the sound of pots and pans and forks and knives clinging against plateware and white stuff running around. All that stuff.
Still the same experience.
Simple things. It's kind of happening super fast, but in slow motion and just hazy. But you get this general sense of happiness and well-being.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. I mean, that's 30 years of business in the restaurant industry, especially, is amazing. And I love your food. I mean, I think the place is fantastic, Bassel. So thank you so much. And it's Bassel Osmani with Pita Jungle. Check it out. I mean, they're all over the valley. Absolutely fantastic place, great food. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.